All right, here Jesus left Nazareth and came down here when they tried to push him off the cliff. It becomes his hometown and his home base. He cures a paralytic here, forms his apostles here, deals with the question of who is going to be the greatest among us here. You know, it's like a Jewish mother bringing her two sons to Jesus. I don't want to be a doctor or a lawyer. I want one on both sides of you. Paid a temple tax here. This is where you sent him down to the water, found the coin in the fish's mouth. So watch when we have lunch today. You know why? And then he called Matthew, the tax collector, here too. This is where Matthew is called. You know why? Because right here on the Via Maris that runs by the sea is the main road from the north to the south. It's called the Via Maris, away by the sea. And you are in two different provinces, tetrarchies. And Matthew is the tax collector sitting there. So if you were to go from here up to Bethsaida, you'd have to pay his booth, and you'd have to pay him a poll tax. So on the way to Jesus says, leave your money, leave your table, and follow me. And Matthew did it. He cursed this town because of its unbelief. He cast out an evil spirit here. This is where almost all the miracles that we hear about in Galilee took place here, more listed than anywhere else in the Bible. This is where he cured a leper, cured the centurion's servant, and this is, by the way, the centurion, a Roman centurion, built the synagogue. This is, by the way, the 4th century synagogue. The white stone is from the 4th century. But if you see the black basalt underneath it, see the layer underneath it? That is the foundation of the 1st century synagogue where Jesus walked. So this synagogue was built on top of the one that Jesus used. He cures a paralytic here, and he gives, to me, the most important thing, he gives the sermon, unless you eat my flesh and drink my blood. He gave that here in this synagogue. What consumes us as Catholics more than the Eucharist? What is the center of our faith? The center of our worship is the Eucharist, and here's where Jesus taught that. Now, he didn't. In John, we don't have the institution of the Eucharist, like in Matthew, Mark, and Luke, where he said he sat at the table and he took bread and he took wine. Why doesn't John do this? Because the fathers, the early Christians, tell us that John read the other 3 Gospels and he approved of them, and he's writing a spiritual gospel, and he doesn't need to repeat it over again. But what he does is he gives us in John chapter 6 the theological underpinnings, the theological foundation for the Eucharist. He explains it. John gives us this great discourse of Jesus. Now, when I was an evangelical Protestant, I called the Eucharist the cookie place.